The Galactic Concord had never been a place for fragile PCT, was a tightrope stretched over a void of ancient grudges, fierce rivalries, and secrets older than most civilizations could remember. For 4 millennia, dozens of species balanced on that rope, wary, calculating, each afraid to make the first deadly misstep. Earth was the newest member, a latecomer by thousands of years. Human technology was still young by galactic standards. No warp drives, no telepathic networks, no quantum manipulation. The Council treated humanity as a curiosity, an upstart trying to earn its seat among gods. But humanity was never the species you could count out. The trouble began on Varellus Prime, a mining colony perched on the edge of Dominion space, where Hashari patrols routinely patrolled the asteroid belt. The miners were Earth settlers, desperate and stubborn, scraping minerals from a harsh rock. When the Hashari demanded new taxes, the settlers resisted. Skirmishes broke out. The Dominion's response was swift and brutal orbital bombardment that rained fire down on human settlements. Council chambers buzzed with debate. Some members called for immediate sanctions against the Hashari. Others urged calm, fearing escalation. The humans, for their part, remained strangely silent, offering no threats, no demands. A tragedy, yes, murmured Councillor Macker of the Telephy, but hardly a cause for war. On Earth, however, silence did not mean submission. Deep beneath the shattered surface of Luna's dark side, an assembly of humans gathered around a holoscrid. The flickering image showed the Council's endless debates. At the head of the room stood General Lyra Vance, her eyes cold, sharp. They think we're weak, she said quietly. They think our silence is fear. They don't understand what they've done. Behind her, engineers, scientists, and strategists watched the feed. Decades of preparation, hidden from the galaxy, were about to be tested in the Council's glittering halls. Earth's absence was beginning to weigh heavily. Days turned to weeks with no response from Sol. No transmissions, no fleet movements, no energy emissions detectable by even the most sensitive arrays. It was as if humanity had simply vanished. Some whispered of catastrophe. Some speculated Earth's star had gone nova. Few dared imagine that humanity was planning something far darker. Makar's voice cut through the chatter in a late-night session. They have weapons. Weapons so old and so advanced that they warp the very fabric of space if those warships appear. No one finished the sentence. Suddenly, the Council's communication panels flickered, and a distorted voice broke through the static. Shadow Armada activated. Judgment has begun. The chamber froze. No one moved. The message was in ancient Terran English, a language none on the Council had expected to hear again, and then, from the void beyond the Council's orbital platform, 12 colossal shapes shimmered into existence. They were not like anything anyone had ever seen. Hulking warships, forged from neutron-laced dark matter alloys, their surfaces rippling with unstable energy. They distorted space itself, bending light and sensor readings, creating hallucinations in the minds of those who tried to study them. No transponder signals, no diplomatic hails, just silence. The Council's fleets scrambled to intercept. Fighters launched, capital ships charged. Weapons. But as the first human vessel moved in, the sensor readings went dead. It vanished without a trace. Panic spread like wildfire on Earth. In the Moonbase Command Center, Lyra's eyes flicked to the countdown timer. Phase 1 complete. she murmured. The galaxy had underestimated humanity once. It would be there. Last mistake, asterisk the council's halls. Once vibrant with endless debate and calculated diplomacy, now thrummed with nervous energy. The sudden disappearance of all communications from the soul. System Earth's home was a spectre no one had dared to expect. The Sol system was the heart of humanity's presence in the galaxy, its vibrant planets and moons bustling with colonies, research stations, and military outposts. Now, the entire star system was swallowed in eerie silence. Scanners strained, but the results were baffling. No radio chatter, no energy emissions, no fleet movements, no signs of life. It was as if Earth had been erased. Councillor Dethlin of the Vocarian Guard paced restlessly. This is impossible. No civilization, especially one so recently integrated, simply vanishes. Someone is blocking all detection. The Council sent its most advanced scout ships on recon missions, stealth vessels with sensor arrays designed to pierce the thickest veils of space-time, but each returned with the same cryptic report: a complete sensor blackout around Sol, and strange, fluctuating distortions in the surrounding space. The silence bred paranoia. Was Earth hiding, preparing an ambush, or had some cosmic disaster struck? In the shadows of the council chamber, a low voice spoke, a telepathy Elder Ma, who had long warned of humanity's hidden depths. They are not hiding, they are waiting, and when they emerge, it will be as gods walking from the void. His words were dismissed as fear-mongering by some, but others began to shudder. Meanwhile, on the edge of the system, the human command center aboard the lunar moon base thrummed with cold efficiency. Inside the reinforced walls, General Lyra Vance and her inner circle monitored the flickering displays. The silence from the rest of the galaxy was deliberate and necessary. They could not afford mistakes. Phase 2 protocols are ready, Leora announced, her voice steady but commanding. Once we move, there's no turning back. In the council chambers, a new disturbance rippled through the communications network. A rogue transmission interrupted every channel simultaneously, a fractured, coded message repeated in a loop. Shadow Armada deployed. Event horizon commencing. The council scrambled to identify the source. The message's encryption was unmistakably human, encoded in archaic, military ciphers that had been obsolete for centuries. The council's intelligence divisions were baffled. Who could have sent it? From where? As the council debated, a new, more alarming report arrived. A Vocarian destroyer investigating the outer perimeter of the Sol system had disappeared. No distress call, no debris, no signal. The council grew, uneasy that the human silence was no accident. It was a weapon. Inside the Lunar Command Center, a holographic star map pulsed with activity. The Shadow Armada's 12 colossal warships hovered just beyond sensor range, cloaked in layers of dark matter shielding that rendered them invisible to conventional detection. Lyra studied the map, eyes narrowed. The galaxy believes we are weak. They think silence is submission. Her voice dropped to a whisper. They don't understand what we have built. The room fell silent. A senior engineer stepped forward, hands trembling slightly as he operated. A console. The dark matter holes are stable. The energy cores are at maximum. We are ready to deploy. Outside, the dark void of space stretched infinitely. But humanity's presence was about to make itself known in ways no one could imagine. Back at the council, the fear was palpable. Messages flew between representatives. Ships scrambled. The galaxy braced, but no one dared move first and then the first ripple of the unknown washed over them. A single, ominous transmission echoed through every council channel in a voice, cold and unyielding. Judgment has arrived. The council froze. A shadow had fallen over the stars. The vast chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with rising panic. All eyes were fixed on the massive viewports that framed the inky blackness of space outside the orbital platform. The void itself seemed to hold its breath, and then the silence. Shattered back from the dark depths of null space, 12 colossal warships shimmered into existence like ghosts rising from a nightmare. Their hulls rippled and warped the stars behind them, as if reality itself bent to their presence. The ships were unlike any the galaxy had ever seen, enormous, sleek, and terrifying, forged from exotic neutron-laced dark matter alloys that made their surfaces swirl with unstable energy. Sensor arrays floundered, unable to penetrate their shields or even get a clear image. The Council's military commanders snapped to attention. Fleets of hundreds of ships scrambled into formation. Weapons charging, energy fields glowing. The Great Hall emptied as representatives rushed to their battle stations. "Identify those vessels," barked Admiral Sorry, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. The warships sent no identification signals. They didn't respond to hails. Their silence was a message of defiance from the command bridge of the Council's flagship. The Imperium, Captain Delvar, ordered a squadron of interceptors to approach. As the fighters moved forward, one after another began to flicker, fade, and vanish. Not destroyed, not damaged, just erased. Panic erupted. "What is happening?" cried a technician as sensors on the bridge flickered uncontrollably. "Impossible." Delvar muttered, gripping the console. "They're bending space around them, warping our sensors out of existence. It's like trying to grasp smoke." Suddenly, the lead warship transmitted a message. Its voice, cold and mechanical, yet eerily human. "Judgment has arrived." The voice echoed through the Council Chamber's communication network, silencing all debate. It was ancient Terran English, the long-forgotten language of humanity's earliest explorers. The Council recoiled. Earth had been dismissed as primitive, incapable of serious threat. Yet here they were, not only alive, but wielding weapons that bent the very fabric of reality. Admiral Sorry's voice shook as she spoke. "They've weaponized physics itself." Within the shadows of the command chamber, a holographic image flickered to life. The warships shimmered with dark energy, their engines humming with a strange power that disrupted gravity fields. The vessels could appear and disappear at will, create localized black holes, and erase entire ships without a trace. The Council scrambled to formulate a response. Fleets deployed graviton disruptors, plasma torpedoes, and quantum missiles, but none pierced the alien shields. A voice whispered from the side of the command room, Councillor Markar of the Telethy. They wield the power of pre-Big Bang technology. Their silence was preparation, not weakness. As the fleets faltered, the warships began to shift formation. Gravity wells bloomed suddenly around several Council ships, tearing them apart. From the inside out, explosions rippled across the void without warning. Entire squadrons vanished in seconds. The Council was unprepared. They were OUTMA TCHED. Meanwhile, deep beneath Luna's surface, General Lyra Vance watched the Council's panic unfold on her command holoscreen. Her expression was calm, resolute. "Thought they could intimidate us," she said quietly. "They don't understand that Earth never bows. Not anymore. Lyra turned toward a map of the galaxy, dotted with red markers, targets for retribution and warnings. Phase 3 begins now. Back at the council, chaos had become desperation. Representatives shouted for ceasefire, for parley, for reason. But the Shadow Armada did not pause. Their message was clear and unyielding. Humanity would not be dismissed. Humanity would not be controlled. And humanity would not be erased. Outside the chamber, the 12 dark matter warships loomed like spectral giants, a nightmare born from Earth's silent resolve. The Galaxy Council had frozen in terror, and the era of human reckoning had begun. Asterisk, the void around the Galactic Council's orbital platform twisted and convulsed as if reality itself were tearing apart. The 12 warships from Earth, the so-called Shadow Armada, hovered ominously, each a living weapon of physics-stiffing technology, on the Imperium's command bridge. Captain Delvar stared at the sensor displays, his face pale. All interception fleets, ... missing, gone. No wreckage, no debris. It's as if they never existed. Across the Council's communication channels, frantic messages spilled in, but no one had answers. Entire squadrons had been erased, not destroyed in battle, but removed from existence by localized gravity wells that crushed space and time themselves. Admiral Soria's voice crackled over the net. These are no ordinary weapons. These are annihilators of matter and causality. In the heart of the Council, fear seeped like a poison. Military strategists scrambled to adjust, but Earth's new arsenal was rewriting every rule. The weapons did not merely destroy, they unmade. Aboard the lead warship of the Shadow Armada, a cold voice echoed through secure comm channels. You have violated the Accord. Retribution is mathematically inevitable. The Council's legal frameworks, centuries of treaties and rules, meant nothing here. Humanity was no longer a fledgling trying to find its place. It was a force rewriting cosmic order. Back on Luna, General Lyra Vance observed the chaos with a rare flicker of satisfaction. The galaxy was complacent, she said to her staff. They looked down on us. Now, they learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. Behind her, screens displayed streams of data, calculations predicting the collapse of entire enemy fleets, simulations of weapon effects, and deployments of new gravity rift generators. Humanity had spent decades, hidden in plain sight, reverse alien tech buried deep beneath the Martian surface. The Martian archives, relics of a civilization predating the Big Bang, had been the key. Dark matter alloys. Quantum A is capable of outthinking any opponent, and devices that manipulated gravity and time itself had been combined into the Shadow Armada. This was the culmination of humanity's silent renaissance, a technological leap that shattered centuries of galactic assumptions, and now it was unleashed. Within minutes, a Council cruiser investigating the outer edge of the system was swallowed by a rippling gravity well, crushed and dissolved without a sound. A transport fleet attempting to evacuate diplomats vanished mid-warp jump. The galaxy watched in horror. The Shadow Armada did not massacre indiscriminately. The strikes were surgical, precise, mathematical, and merciless. It was not chaos. It was justice, cold and unyielding. Councillor Markar whispered to a colleague. They wield the power of creation itself, bending reality to their will. In response, several Council factions began calling for surrender and negotiation, while others pushed for desperate retaliation. But with fleets disappearing like shadows, hope was fading. Lyra's voice resonated across humanity's hidden command centers. Let them know. This is only the beginning. Beneath the rusty red dust of Mars, deep within vast, labyrinthian caverns, lay a secret no other species had ever uncovered. The archives, it was a repository of alien knowledge buried by a civilization that existed before the stars even took shape, a civilization that had harnessed the raw forces of dark energy, quantum space-time, and technologies that defied the known laws of physics. For decades, humanity's best minds had worked in secret to unlock these secrets, hidden from the prying eyes of the Galactic Council and their myriad spies. These scientists and engineers labored in time-dilated labs beneath the Martian surface. Their efforts were driven by a single, unyielding goal: survival, dignity, and a future where humanity would no longer be dismissed as the galaxy's weaklings. Lyra Vance, then a young engineer and strategist, had been among those first to uncover the alien archives. She remembered the moment vividly, an encrypted holographic star map flickering to life, revealing ancient ships built from materials that twisted reality, weapons capable of ripping holes in space itself, and quantum AIs that could calculate outcomes across timelines. We are not just inheritors of this technology, she had said to her team. We are architects of a new future. Years passed in the blink of an eye inside the time-dilated chambers. Humanity refined and reversed the alien tech, melding it with their own ingenuity. They forged dark matter hulls that shimmered like liquid shadow, graviton disruptors that could erase matter from existence, and AIs that learned and adapted faster than any known consciousness. The archives had become the crucible where humanity's destiny was forged, a destiny no one in the galaxy saw coming. Back on Earth, Lyra had risen quickly through the ranks, her strategic mind sharpened by decades of planning and secrets. She was no longer the idealistic engineer, but a hardened general commanding a fleet that could bend the cosmos. Now, watching the Council crumble under the might of the Shadow Armada, she spoke to her commanders via encrypted channels. They believed our silence was weakness. Our patience was a mask. We waited until we held the power to challenge the stars themselves. The council chambers, meanwhile, were plunged into turmoil. The revelation of humanity's true capabilities shattered every assumption. Ancient treaties, written in eras when Earth was a mere footnote, now felt obsolete. Several council members demanded immediate ceasefire and diplomacy, fearing annihilation. Others cried for total war, unwilling to bow to what they called an unworthy upstart. The Vocarian commander, Cosrine, paced in frustration. We have fought civilizations older than your sun, humans. What makes you think you can claim a place among the stars? Lyra's answer came through a voice transmission, calm yet unyielding. Because we chose to rise. Because we took the knowledge hidden beneath the dust and made it our own. Because we refused to be forgotten. As the council debated, the Shadow Armada readied its next move. Targets were selected with cold precision, colonies that had exploited human worlds, warships that had threatened Earth's fledglings, and systems that had ignored humanity's calls for justice. The galaxy was on the brink of a new order, one forged in darkness and determination. Lyra's final words echoed in the minds of all who heard them. We were the underdogs, the dismissed, the shadows no one watched. Now we are the reckoning. The Galactic Council's chambers, once a bastion of unity and order, now seethed with tension. Representatives argued fiercely over the latest developments, voices raised. and faces flushed with fear and fury. At the heart of the storm was the unexpected and unprecedented arrival of Earth's ambassador. But it wasn't a living being. Instead, the Council received a projection, an augmented hologram of General Lyra Vance herself, calm and imposing, standing against the swirling backdrop of the Shadow Armada. Her eyes swept the chamber with a mixture of steel and sorrow. "I come not as a conqueror, but as a messenger." The silence that followed was suffocating. "Your species," Lyra began, "have ignored our warnings. You have violated treaties, sanctioned attacks on our colonies, and dismissed humanity as primitive. We did not seek war, but war was forced upon us." She paused. "Today, we offer you a choice. Surrender the weapons of the archives and relinquish your claims to the Varellus colony, or face total annihilation." The councillors recoiled, some shouting, others stunned into silence. Councillor of the Vocarians stood, voice booming. "We will never bow to threats from a species that thinks itself above the laws of the galaxy." Lyra's gaze sharpened. "Then you leave us no choice." Minutes later, the moon of Vocaria, a key, strategic outpost for the Council, shimmered and flickered, then vanished from all sensors. It was not destroyed. It was removed, ripped from existence by a localized spatial excision. Shock rippled through the chamber. One by one, other star systems began to destabilize. Core energy fluctuations, sudden disappearances of entire fleets, and gravitational anomalies heralded the next phase of humanity's campaign. Yet Lyra's message was clear. Humanity did not seek conquest for conquest's sake. We demand respect, sovereignty, and a seat at the Council equal to any other. We demand recognition that humanity will no longer be dismissed. She held their gaze. The galaxy will either accept this truth, or it will fall. Outside the chambers, fleets braced for impact. The fragile balance of power teetered on the edge of oblivion. The Council was fractured, some urging negotiation, others preparing for all-out war. But humanity's shadow loomed larger with every passing moment. Lyra's voice echoed in the minds of all who listened. "This is our ultimatum. The age of dismissal is over." The galaxy was ablaze with unrest. The Council, fractured and desperate, scrambled to mount a coordinated response to the threat that had come from Earth. For millennia, species had waged wars that reshaped star systems, yet none had faced an enemy like humanity, one that wielded weapons capable of erasing entire fleets, bending space and time as easily as breathing. Some Council factions advocated surrender, others vengeance, but few dared speak openly of humanity's power to do so was to invite despair. Amid the turmoil, a new force emerged, the coalition of independent systems. Frustrated by the Council's inertia and fearing total annihilation, these systems reached out in secret to Earth's commanders. "We cannot win by fighting," said Councillor Jalara of the Krath Dominion, a sharp-minded diplomat who had witnessed humanity's power firsthand. "But there is power in alliance." Lyra Vance considered the offer. Humanity's goal had never been total conquest, had been respect, survival, and recognition. A new order was dawning, and she saw the seeds of possibility. An alliance must be built on honesty. Lyra said, her voice steady over encrypted channels. "We offer our knowledge and strength in exchange for peace and equal standing." Jill nodded. "Then let us meet together." The Council was divided, some seeing hope, others sensing betrayal. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the Shadow Armada held back its most devastating strikes, focusing instead on surgical strikes against aggressive fleets that refused to negotiate. Entire war zones flickered in and out of existence as humanity's dark matter. Weapons rewrote the rules of engagement, but the galaxy was learning. New tactics were emerging. Fleets adapted their formations, developed countermeasures, and began probing for weaknesses in humanity's technology. In a hidden war room aboard the Coalition flagship, scientists pored over captured technology. "The key lies in the quantum core stabilizers," said Dr. Emmerich, a Terran-defected scientist who had joined the Coalition. "Disrupt those, and their ships lose the ability to phase through space." The tide was turning. The Coalition's combined fleets launched a daring assault to disable one of the Shadow Armada's forward command vessels. The battle was fierce and desperate, but for the first time, humanity's forces faced losses. Lyra watched the battle unfold in real time. This is no longer a war of annihilation. It is a war for survival. Yet even as humanity endured, the galaxy had changed forever. No longer the weak upstart. Earth had become a catalyst, the spark igniting a new era. The Council knew the truth. The days of dismissal were over. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the dust of war settled across the galaxy. After months of relentless conflict, shifting alliances, and staggering losses, the Galactic Council faced an unprecedented moment of reckoning. The Shadow Armada still loomed, terrifying and indomitable, but it no longer represented a force of blind destruction. Humanity, tempered by battle and tempered by diplomacy, had extended a hand toward coexistence. In the great hall of the Council's orbital platform, representatives gathered once more. This time, the atmosphere was charged not with fear, but cautious hope. General Lyra Vance stood before them, not as a warrior wielding weapons of annihilation, but as an envoy for a new order. Her voice carried across the chamber with quiet authority. "We came not to conquer, but to claim our place. Among the stars, the galaxy may have once underestimated us, but the future will know the strength and resolve of humanity." The counselors, some still wary, others visibly moved, listened intently. "The archives of Mars have given us power beyond imagination," Lyra continued, "but with power comes responsibility. We do not seek to dominate, but to protect our own and to join in the shared stewardship of the galaxy's future." Across the room, Councillor Jalara of the Coalition rose, nodding in agreement. "The Coalition supports this vision. We have seen what war wrought, but also what can be achieved when trust replaces fear." The Council convened an emergency summit, drafting a new treaty, the Accord of Soul. It recognized humanity's sovereignty, granted equal representation in the Council, and pledged mutual defense against threats that might imperil all civilizations. Ships that once danced on the edge of destruction now flew in joint maneuvers. Scientific teams shared discoveries. Trade routes opened where silence had ruled. Lyra stood on the balcony of the Lunar Command Center, gazing at Earth's blue orb, fragile gems surrounded by infinite darkness. Beside her, her closest advisors watched the emerging Galactic Coalition. With cautious optimism, "The galaxy has changed," she said softly. "But so have we," one of her commanders asked. "And if the shadows return?" Lyra smiled faintly, eyes shining with determination. "Then we will be ready. Because this time, we stand not alone, but together." As the stars gleamed overhead, the long silence from Earth was finally broken not by weapons or fear, but by the promise of a new dawn. Humanity had emerged from the shadows. No longer the dismissed underdogs, but a beacon of strength and hope in a galaxy forever changed.